Birthdays don't always explode, but Lydia's did, with the sound of porcelain shattering against a cold, polished floor. It was 8:47 p.m. The office had emptied 2 hours earlier. The overhead lights buzzed in a low metallic hum, almost like they were keeping her company. Outside, downtown Denver was just a quiet blur through the glass brake lights, blinking distant sirens, humming a city moving on autopilot. But inside, her small corner of the 18th floor, Lydia Carrington was still working. Still holding it all together. Not because she wanted to, because she had to. She hadn't planned to spend her 29th birthday hunched over a stack of client mock-ups reviewing font spacing and color palettes. But there were deadlines, always deadlines. And when your name's the only one paying the mortgage, birthdays become just another Tuesday. She leaned back, massaging her temples, when her phone vibrated once on the desk. Then again. Then 5 more times, rapid and sharp like warning shots. Lydia looked down. Her breath caught. Fraud alert, $12,000, Snowmass Lodge, Aspen. Fraud alert, $7,500, in-room services. Fraud alert, $15,400, executive suite reservation. Total flagged, $35,000. Her hand trembled as she picked up the phone, and that's when it happened. Her coffee mug, half full, balanced dangerously on a stack of client files, tipped. The ceramic hit the edge of the desk, spun once, and flew off the side. It exploded on contact. Coffee surged across the wood grain, soaking contracts, smearing ink, melting weeks of work into the brown blur of caffeine and chaos. For a long, terrifying second, Lydia just sat there, frozen. Not because of the mess, not even because of the money, but because deep down, she already knew. This wasn't some hacker in Lithuania. This wasn't some accidental double charge. This was something far more dangerous. This was family. Lydia swiped through the charges again. Snowmass Lodge. Snowmass. Aspen. The kind of place where valet parking costs more than most people's rent, where a bottle of water is $12 and everyone pretends it's normal. Her mouth felt dry. She hadn't taken a vacation in 5 years, hadn't even splurged on a manicure in 6 months. But somehow, her credit card had $35,000 on rooms she never checked into, on spa services she never booked, on champagne she'd never even tasted. She tapped the View Merchant link. Snowmass Lodge, Aspen, Colorado, 5-star rating, executive suite, booked under June Carrington, her sister, her younger sister, the one who claimed to be in between opportunities, the one who'd said she was just networking this weekend. And then it hit her, not like a whisper, like a slap. This wasn't identity theft. This wasn't some stranger. It was worse. It was intentional. It was June. Lydia stared at the name on her screen, Mom Mobile. She didn't want to press call, but she had to. Her hands were still damp with coffee, her fingers trembling. She hit the green button. 1, 2, 4. Her mother finally picked up. "Lydia, honey, is something wrong? It's awfully late." Lydia's voice was low, hollow, like it came from somewhere deep inside. "There are $35,000 in charges on my Platinum card from Snowmass Lodge." Silence. Then click. She was on speaker now. Her dad's voice joined in. Casual, like this was about ordering pizza. "Now, Lydia, don't get worked up. It's not as bad as it sounds." She blinked. "Not as bad as it sounds?" Mom's voice chimed in. "June just needed a little treat, sweetheart. She's been working so hard looking for opportunities." Lydia's heart dropped. A treat? $35,000 was a treat? I didn't give her my card. Dad exhaled like she was the unreasonable one. "We thought you wouldn't mind. You're always helping the family anyway." And just like that, everything Lydia had done, the groceries, the mortgage, the unpaid medical bills, the canceled vacations, none of it meant anything. She was no longer a daughter. She was an asset, a number on their mental spreadsheet, a platinum card with a pulse. And worse, they acted like she was the problem. It started with one sentence, "Just until Dad gets back on his feet." Lydia had heard it over dinner a year and a half ago. The mashed potatoes were cold. The silence was hotter. Her father had lost the business, the one with the hand-carved sign that used to hang over Main Street for 2 decades. Her parents were weeks from foreclosure. The mortgage was drowning them. And Lydia, she had a successful design firm, a small downtown apartment, and a guilty conscience the size of Texas. So she did what good daughters do. She moved back home. Temporarily. At least, that's what she told herself. The first week, she offered to cover the mortgage. Just once. Then the grocery bill. Then the electric. Then the water. The insurance. The property taxes. The internet. By month 3, Lydia wasn't just visiting. She was funding, feeding, fixing, financing survival. And her temporary stay? It became a full relocation without notice, without permission, and without thanks. Her downtown apartment lease quietly expired. She never renewed it. The worst part, she didn't even have space. Her old bedroom, once filled with posters and dreams, was now a home office. Sketches stacked in piles, a secondhand monitor, fabric samples rolled into corners. The room was small. Her workload was massive. But she worked 70 hours a week anyway, because someone had to keep the house. And she didn't realize, somewhere along the way, she stopped being the daughter and became the provider. It wasn't the empty shelves that broke her. It was the silence. Lydia stood in the kitchen, eyes scanning the pantry like a detective at a crime scene. The shelves were bare, not low, empty. No cereal, no rice, not even instant noodles. She opened the fridge. 2 eggs, a nearly expired yogurt, and a bottle of sparkling water, half empty. She closed the door slowly. Her chest tightened. 3 weeks ago, she had transferred $4,000 into the family account. It wasn't a gift. It was for food. It was supposed to last the month. So where the hell had it gone? She turned around. Her mother sat at the dining table, flipping through a magazine like nothing was wrong. Face calm, nails freshly done. Lydia's voice cut through the quiet like a blade. "Where did the $4,000 go, Mom?" A pause. Flip, flip, then, "Oh, that. Well, June needs to eat, sweetheart. She's got job interviews coming up." Lydia blinked. "You spent $4,000 feeding June?" Her mother shrugged, still not looking up. "You know how expensive organic is these days, and your sister needs proper nutrition. You wouldn't want her to faint in front of a hiring manager, would you?" Something inside cracked. Not shattered, just cracked. A long, silent fracture that started in her chest and traveled all the way down her spine. She wasn't just paying for groceries, she was funding delusion. And no one even had the decency to feel guilty. It was just a scroll. A mindless late-night scroll through Instagram. The kind you do when sleep won't come and reality is too heavy to carry alone. Lydia didn't expect to see anything. But then, there it was. A selfie. June standing in front of a mirror in some upscale bathroom, probably a restaurant. Hair curled, filters on, pout perfected, and dangling from her wrist, a blush pink designer handbag, the kind with gold hardware. The kind Lydia used to admire through boutique windows, telling herself, "Someday." The caption, "Treating myself. #earned it. #networking vibes." Lydia stared at the post. She didn't like it, didn't comment, just stared. Because something about that bag felt familiar. 2 days later, she found it. Not in a boutique, not on June's arm, but behind her mother's chair, half hidden, stuffed beneath a throw blanket like it didn't want to be seen. Same exact shade. Same exact gold hardware. Same smug energy. And in that moment, Lydia didn't need receipts. She knew. It was her card, the one she thought she was using for groceries, bills, gas. Instead, it had bought June an 1,800 handbag, and bought Lydia something, too. Clarity. It was 5:32 a.m. Lydia hadn't slept. She'd stared at the ceiling all night, her heart pounding like a metronome stuck on panic. Coffee sat cold beside her. The daylight creeping through blinds made the room look unfamiliar. She wasn't looking for anything when she picked up the phone. She just needed noise. But the voicemail icon was glowing red. 2 new messages. She pressed play and heard her sister's voice. Clear, bright, carefree. "Hey, Mom, can you make sure I get the platinum card before Lydia changes the PIN again?" Lydia froze. "I want to get checked in before noon. The suite should be ready by now." "Don't worry, she never checks until the end of the month." Lydia's breath hitched. In the background, her father's voice chimed in. Low, unbothered, just leave it in the usual spot. The usual spot? That wasn't theft. That wasn't accident. That was a system with code words, with planning, with everyone involved except her. Oh, and remember last time she freaked out about the Nordstrom charges? June added with a laugh. She acts like we're stealing or something. As if she doesn't owe us after everything you guys did raising her, the message ended. Lydia sat frozen on the stairs, phone still pressed to her ear, the words echoing in her head like poison. She hadn't been protecting her family. She'd been financing them. And they knew. They all knew. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't, oh, we thought it was okay. This was intentional. The voicemail still echoed in Lydia's head like a song she couldn't shut off. She sat across from her mother at the kitchen table, a stack of printed bank statements between them, lines of charges, groceries, spa days, designer shoes, all from one card, her card. Her voice was low, shaking, not from weakness, but from restraint. You knew, all of you. Her mother didn't flinch. She sipped her tea slowly, like this was just another Tuesday. We're family, Lydia. We help each other. Lydia narrowed her eyes. Help means I choose to give. This wasn't help. This was theft. Her mother finally set the cup down, her tone sharpened. You owe us. We raised you. We gave you everything. Now it's your turn. The room froze. Lydia blinked. Oh. She looked down at the mortgage she'd been paying, the credit card bill she'd been absorbing, the receipts, the overdraft fees, all signed with her name. Her voice was flat, hollow, like something inside her had just died. So I pay for everything, as repayment for being born? Mom didn't respond. She just looked away. And Lydia saw it clear as day. This wasn't gratitude. This was entitlement weaponized. It wasn't a mistake. It was a system, a machine she was keeping alive, one guilt trip, one wire transfer at a time. And now she was about to shut it down. The filing cabinet was old, scratched metal, slightly rusted on the edges. It smelled like paper and dust and bad decisions. It used to be her father's pride, his command center, when he still ran a business. Now it sat in the corner of the den, forgotten, like so many of his promises. Lydia had walked past it 100 times, but tonight something pulled her toward it. Her hands moved with purpose. Top drawer, nothing but expired coupons and unopened mail. Second drawer, manuals, broken pens, receipts from a decade ago. Then the third drawer clicked open. Folders, legal ones, thick with paperwork. She flipped through old tax filings, loan applications, property assessments, and then she saw it. The quitclaim deed, filed, signed, notarized, transferring full ownership of the house to Lydia Carrington. She stared at the page, dated 18 months ago, right when her dad was facing a massive tax lien. Of course they needed a clean name to save the house. And Lydia, single, debt-free, and employed, was the perfect scapegoat. Except now, she wasn't a scapegoat anymore. She was the owner. Her fingers gripped the paper tighter, her breath slow, focused, heavy with something new, leverage. They'd taken her money, her kindness, her silence. But the house? That was hers. And suddenly, for the first time in 18 months, Lydia wasn't trapped. She had the keys, the papers, the power. The phone rang just as Lydia walked into the kitchen. Speakerphone was already on. Her parents sat at the table like it was Sunday brunch, coffee mugs in hand, pretending everything was fine. But nothing was fine. The voice coming through the speaker, June, bright, tipsy, and loud. Mimosas at altitude hit different, don't they? Anyway, don't freak, Lydia. It's family money. Relax. Lydia stared at the speaker. Family money? Funny how they called it that, when only one person was actually earning it. Her mother smiled awkwardly. Her father cleared his throat. We're in a bit of a situation. There's a tax lien. Lydia blinked. Excuse me? I meant to tell you, her father added quickly. The IRS filed it last month. That's why we needed the extra $4,000. Lydia's voice sharpened. Wait, you gave June the grocery money? Her mother finally looked up. Guilty, but not enough. She needed business clothes for interviews, a blazer, some shoes. Lydia didn't let her finish. So you let her walk into Nordstrom with my card and spend grocery money on stilettos? June laughed from the speaker. Chill, sis. It's not like we're strangers. It's all staying in the family. Lydia stepped back. The kitchen floor felt uneven beneath her feet. Family? They kept saying that word like it meant something, like it justified everything. The lying, the stealing, the silence. But family wasn't supposed to feel like extortion. She looked at them, her parents, her sister, her so-called unit, and for the first time, she didn't see a family. She saw a scheme, and she was the only one not cashing in. It started with a spreadsheet, just rows and columns on a glowing screen. Yellow for groceries, red for spa visits, blue for miscellaneous charges, like designer handbags and room service. At first, Lydia told herself it was for clarity, but deep down, she knew better. This wasn't record-keeping. This was evidence. She printed statements, sorted receipts, cross-referenced voicemail timestamps with purchase dates. She even highlighted each charge color-coded by abuser. Green mom, orange dad, purple June. Every dollar, every betrayal, logged. There were patterns. A spa day always followed a "we're struggling" phone call. Large withdrawals right after Lydia deposited money. And then there were the hidden charges. Tiny things. $42 at a wine store in a zip code 300 miles away. $78 at a boutique she'd never been to. June had left a digital trail, and Lydia was following it like a forensic accountant with a grudge. The house grew quiet around her. They stopped asking what she was doing in the office so late. They thought she was working on her clients. But she wasn't designing logos anymore. She was building a case, one spreadsheet tab at a time, one lie exposed per row. Her reflection in the monitor didn't look scared anymore. She looked prepared. I'm not just surviving, she whispered into the silence. I'm preparing. The phone rang at 11:07 a.m. Lydia recognized the number immediately. She didn't hesitate. Hi, this is Sandra. Still interested in the Churchill Heights property? Is it still available? Lydia's fingers brushed the edge of the deed on her desk. She didn't blink. It's yours. A pause, then excitement. Cash offer, just like before. Full price, fast close, no contingencies. Lydia nodded to no one. She stared at the framed photo of her parents in the hallway, all three of them smiling, back when she still believed she was part of that smile. Back before she knew. Now, that house, their sanctuary, was her leverage, and she was done begging. She wasn't going to ask for respect. She was going to sell the ground they stood on and let them figure it out from there. They left Friday morning. Dad loaded the car with weekend bags. Mom double-checked the wine bottles. June threw on her oversized sunglasses like she was heading to Cannes. Try not to burn the house down while we're gone, she joked. Lydia smiled and waved. But she didn't stay behind. She moved. By 10 a.m., the locksmith arrived. He didn't ask many questions, just glanced at the paperwork, nodded, and started drilling. By noon, the locks were changed. The keys were hers. By 2 p.m., Lydia had packed every personal belonging she owned. Not much, really, just essentials. And proof. Deed in her backpack. Passport, social security card, birth certificate, in the lockbox inside her car trunk. Receipts, audio recordings, color-coded spreadsheets. Scanned, backed up, triple saved. By 5 p.m., the transfer was official. The house was no longer just hers in theory, it was legally, fully, and finally hers. And she wasn't going to wait for them to return to announce it. She was going to vanish quietly, efficiently, completely. No shouting, no tears, no final confrontation, just disappearing keys. She didn't want revenge, not really. What Lydia wanted, what she needed, was something rarer, more dangerous, more honest. Consequence. On the dining table, she left 3 envelopes, neatly sealed, labeled by name, one for June, one for Mom, one for Dad. Each envelope contained the same thing: a one-way plane ticket to Santa Fe, a signed employment contract from Aunt Delilah's Bistro, housing assignment, 1 shared apartment, 3 single beds, job titles, server, prep cook, dishwasher, and a post-it note. This is the last gift I will ever give you. The rest you will earn. She didn't slam the door when she left. She didn't have to. The message wasn't loud. It was sharp, the kind that cuts deeper than shouting ever could. They had a choice: real work or real consequences. Lydia had spent 18 months being their consequence, the one who cleaned up, paid up, showed up. Not anymore. Now they get to meet reality, and if they didn't like it, they could take it up with the one person who still offered them dignity, her silence. They didn't knock. They stormed. A black SUV screeched to the curb just past noon on Sunday. Doors flew open. Luggage hit the sidewalk. Lydia watched from across the street. June was the first to see it. The massive "Sold" sign staked into the front lawn. Her scream cut through the neighborhood like glass on pavement. "What the hell?" Mom gasped. Dad turned pale. Lydia crossed the street, a manila envelope in hand. She didn't run. She walked calm, measured, final. June charged first. "You sold the house without telling us?" Lydia met her eyes. "It's not your house." Dad raised his hands like he was defusing a bomb. "Sweetheart, we can explain." Mom started crying on cue. "We're your family?" Lydia didn't flinch. She opened the envelope. One by one, she laid the papers on the hood of her car: the quitclaim deed, the credit card statements, screenshots of the texts. A printed transcript of the voicemail she never checks until the end of the month. Proof, page after page. "You used me," she said quietly. "All of you." "We were just trying to get by," Mom cried. "On my back," Lydia snapped. "You didn't see me as your daughter, just your income stream." June crossed her arms. "We didn't think you'd go this far." Lydia stared her down. "That's the thing. You never thought I'd do anything, because you never saw me as a person, just as a source." Silence. No more screaming, just realization. And for the first time, they were speechless. Dad's voice cracked first. "You can't charge us rent. We're your parents." Lydia didn't blink. 18 months ago. That's when it started. "Started what?" Mom asked, arms crossed, jaw clenched. "The debt," Lydia said, calm, precise. "Everything before that was free." June scoffed. "You're not serious." Lydia walked to the drawer, pulled out a folder. Receipts, bank transfers, utility bills, grocery lists, each one with her name, each one dated. "Oh, I'm dead serious." Dad tried a new tactic. "Okay, maybe we messed up. Just don't do this to your own blood." Lydia looked up. "You mean the same blood that watched me work 80-hour weeks while you all took spa trips?" Silence. Mom's tears returned, this time shakier, less rehearsed. "We're sorry. We didn't know it got that bad." Lydia placed the last page down, a full invoice, $54,892, labeled balance due. It did, she said, and now you do. Lydia moved to Denver. No fanfare, no goodbye dinner. Just a lease, a sunrise, and silence. Her new apartment was small, but every inch was hers. No one banging on the bathroom door, no one asking for her credit card. Just space. Space to breathe, space to rebuild. The first thing she hung on her wall? A poster. Black and white minimalist. But the words were loud. Generosity without limits isn't kindness, it's self-neglect. She stared at it every morning while brushing her teeth, every night while folding laundry. It wasn't just a quote, it was a reminder that boundaries don't make you cruel, they make you conscious, they make you free. Lydia didn't cut off her family, she just stopped carrying them, stopped believing she was selfish for choosing herself. Now she drinks her coffee hot. She sleeps without anxiety. She laughs without guilt. She's not angry anymore. Just done. And sometimes done is the most powerful place to start again. It came on a Monday. No return address. No fancy packaging. Just a plain envelope creased quiet. Inside, a cashier's check. $4,000. Exactly. Folded inside the check, a single sheet of paper. In June's handwriting. Shaky. Like someone trying to write the truth for the first time. You were right. I don't deserve your help. But I want to change that. This is a start. June. Lydia sat at her kitchen table. Stared at the check. Let the silence stretch. She didn't cry. She didn't smile. She just exhaled. This wasn't reconciliation. It wasn't redemption. It was a signal. That June, for the first time, had reached into her own pocket instead of Lydia's. That mattered. She didn't call her, didn't text, but Lydia did open a new folder in her desk drawer. She labeled it June Repayments. One envelope, one step. That's all it was. And maybe that's enough. 1 year later, Lydia no longer lives in the same timeline as her past. She owns it now. But she doesn't revisit it. Her design firm, thriving. Clients book 3 months out. Her name is on business cards, invoices, the front door. And when people call, she answers like a boss, not a bank. When someone says, "It's just one favor," she doesn't flinch. She pauses, listens for tone, checks the math. She recognizes manipulation like some people recognize music. Fast, flawless. Her shoulders are straighter, her smile real, and the circle around her small, but solid. There's no guilt for saying no now. No more checking her bank balance to measure her worth. No more bending so others could stand taller. She's not Lydia the fixer, not Lydia the provider, just Lydia. And that's enough. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon at Aunt Delilah's bistro. The kind of day where the sun pools lazily on the cobblestones outside and the scent of fresh bread drifts through open windows. Lydia sat at a corner table sipping her coffee. Her eyes kept drifting to the kitchen doorway. There, her mother, wiping sweat from her brow, nervously balancing a tray of plates. Her father hastily refilling water glasses, apologizing for spilled drinks. June, carrying a stack of menus, cheeks flushed from running back and forth. For the first time in 18 months, Lydia saw them truly earning what they took. No shortcuts, no excuses, just work. Hard, honest work. And something else, respect. Lydia smiled quietly, not because she felt victorious, but because she finally felt peace. They weren't the family she once thought she had, but maybe, just maybe, they were the family they needed to be. Lydia no longer needed revenge. She had something far better, a life. Standing in her sunlit apartment, she whispered to the empty room, "I wasn't cruel. I was the cure they didn't know they needed." No more bitterness, no more anger, just peace. Because not every story ends with a reunion. Some end with resurrection. Family is where we should find love and support, but sometimes it's not the place where we're truly valued or respected. Lydia's story teaches us that setting personal boundaries isn't selfish. It's essential for protecting your worth and mental health. Learning to say no to exploitation and silence is the first step toward freedom and happiness. Sometimes growing up means walking away from toxic relationships to make space for your own healing and growth. If Lydia's story inspired you and helped you see your own value, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on Through Her Eyes today so you never miss another emotional, powerful story. Join our community where every story matters and every voice is heard.